Chapter 9, Monday, September 29th. Mary's arrival wakes me. I reposition my numb and sore bottom on the chair. It's 7 a.m. She and Ben go for coffee. Rather than awaken Jeff, I put honey butter under his tongue. An attendant brings in a food tray. The nurse checks Jeff's vital signs. Mary returns without Ben and immediately assists the nurse. Mary inserts a straw in a carton of orange juice. I cringe because I know this juice is pasteurized and much more acidic than fresh. All of its enzymes and at least 15% of its vitamins are dead and some radical, and the minerals are unstable and radical. It will give Jeff very little with which to heal and will burn his throat. Jeff, it's time to eat something, come on, drink some juice, says the nurse, waking him. Jeff, welcome back, boy. Help us out here. You need to get your strength up. Sip a little, now, Mary says. Jeff sips and immediately chokes violently. Mary vacuums his throat. That was a good try, says the nurse. Try again, Jeff, Mary says. Jeff sips and instantly chokes again. Mary vacuums his throat. I can't stand here and keep my mouth shut, so I go to the anteroom. I juice several oranges. I return to Jeff's bedside and exchange orange juices. Mary and the nurse give me looks. Which would you rather drink? I ask. They raise their eyebrows in agreement and feed Jeff the fresh juice. I go for a walk. 45 minutes later I re-enter the room. Mary sits on the bed talking to Jeff, who mumbles incoherently. She seems to understand a little, but I can't understand a word. Jeff dozes off. I guess Ben told you the doctor said Jeff will be a vegetable, I say. Yes, Mary says with her eyes filling. It doesn't have to be that way. The doctor's prior prognosis was that he'd definitely die, no question. They say his brain is permanently damaged. That's not necessarily so. For example, 9 years ago a man named Louis came into Aunt Tilly's too, the health food store where I was the nutritionist. He was a 32-year-old man with a master's degree in library science. A radical vitamin or mineral means that the structure has become brittle and or sharp, and or the chemistry has become dangerously acidic. Radicals irritate all types of cells, including blood. Approached me. It took him 4.5 minutes to ask a simple question. At first, I thought he had a severe stuttering problem, but he didn't stumble consistently on consonants. Sometimes he stumbled on vowels. Mostly he stumbled trying to articulate thoughts. Among his many problems, all of his glands were overactive. His nervous system could never keep up with them. He had low blood sugar and protein levels. As a result, I assessed he had severe delays between the analytical, decision-making process and motor response. So his problem was complex. Just like Jeff's. After a 15-minute conversation that took an hour, I presumed that Louis had been this way most of his life. His condition was so normal to himself that he had little awareness of his difference from others. He wondered why he had no real friends. I thought to myself, who has the time or patience? I did. First, I suggested he eat all raw foods and eliminate all of the vitamin, mineral and protein supplements that he consumed. You don't believe in vitamin supplements? Mary asks, shocked. I suggest eating fresh foods that are rich in balanced bioactive enzymes, vitamins and minerals for optimal health rather than consuming supplements. Anyway, Louis showed immediate results. Within 6 months, a 15-minute conversation took only 40 minutes. When did you develop all this patience? My God, it'd go crazy if I had to listen to someone take forever to have a conversation, Mary says. Look back at the patience you had with your daughter. My patience came with better health. Mary nods. How's Louis now? Patience. I realized that Louis must have had synapse, axon and or ganglia damage or mutation. I deduced that if he ate fresh raw ocean fish and raw organically raised free-range fowl, his body could regenerate and rebuild those nerves. Yuck, Mary says. An aversion to flesh food is either conceptual or you're an herbivore. Herbivores have hooves. I don't remember you having hooves. Mary smiles wryly and says, "It's the fact that it's raw." That's what I said, conceptual. Although Louis only ate raw fish or fowl twice a month, within a year he managed a 15-minute conversation in 30 minutes. That was half his original time. If we feed Jeff raw meats while his body focuses on healing the brain, he should be able to repair himself in less time than Louis. What about worms and salmonella? Mary says, alarmed and repulsed. Intestinal worms do not thrive in healthy cells. When an intestine becomes excessively toxic and massive tissue degenerates, worms can thrive. Parasites actually help eliminate dead, weak and dangerous degenerative cells. They consume these damaged cells and break them down into substances that the body can most easily eliminate. Or the body can produce virus to dissolve the toxic degenerative tissue, or it can produce a bacterial infection to consume organic degenerative tissue. But those processes usually take more time and are more exhausting. Parasites are always the best and quickest the body can do to cleanse. Jeff's erases indicate he is not in danger of parasites. Now, regarding salmonella and similar bacteria. Normally, foods that naturally contain these bacteria produce a putrid odor when the bacterial count gets high. If you worry about bacteria, when meat stinks, don't eat it. The bacterial count in cooked meat and eggs will grow as much as 60 times higher than in raw food. The waste products from bacteria that feeds on cooked food is 10 times more toxic than the waste products from bacteria feeding on raw food. That's why in our advanced society, bacterial food poisoning is from cooked, packaged or restaurant food. I will not feed Jeff stinky meat. I must be as crazy as you. If it works, do it, Mary says. May I ask you something? What? Why didn't you want me here? After all these years, why do you still hate me? Mary looks straight into my eyes for a moment. When Jeff had his tonsils removed, I submitted the Teamsters insurance forms that you sent when you worked as a dispatcher for that trucking company. I waited months. The Teamsters said they sent you the check because it was your insurance. The check had been cashed. How could you do such a thing? I remember receiving insurance checks regularly for all my medical bills back then. I automatically sent them to the doctors. One of my doctors got a hearty, undeserved tip. Why didn't you call me? I could have looked into it. I had no idea. Mary, I would never purposely do anything like that to you and Jeff. She looks at me, then touches my hand. You trying to live forever? How long isn't all that important to me.